Welcome to another edition of Travelstart's FAQ Friday with me, Nick Paul. In 2014, Travelstart has turned 15 years of age, and it's been quite an interesting journey, and there's no better person to take us on this trip than founder and CEO Stephan Ekbergh.
In the early days, it was very simple that we liked to be pioneers. We were doing something that nobody did. You know, last couple of years, what's really kept me motivated and got me going was the fact that we were doing stuff in a lot of countries that didn't have the kind of offering that we do. And then, you know, it's just trying to perfect that and do that better and, you know, see people grow. It's of course true that I was a DJ. It's all over the place. Everybody knows that today. And actually for the first 10 years after I quit school, I worked as a professional DJ. A lot of fun, a lot of late nights. The whole reason I got into travel was actually that my then girlfriend's mother, she didn't think that that was a proper job. You gotta remember that back in these days, you know, late 70s, early 80s, you know, DJs, they weren't as hot as they are today. You know, we didn't make that kind of money. We didn't play stadiums, but we played, you know, in dodgy clubs and stuff like that. And her mom didn't think it was a proper job. She was aggravating me all the time. And so I had to go out and find something. So I was looking around for a daytime job. And you know, there was this, you know, one of the larger travel agencies, they were hiring one person. And the only requirement was that it was supposed to be male, because they had mostly female there, and that he had a driver's license. So I thought, well, I have, you know, I'm male and I've got a driver's license, so maybe I can qualify. I got the job and yeah, so that started a bit of a journey, you know. Well, the early days was very humble, I must say. We started with no money. I had to find people who could basically work for peanuts. We found people fresh out of travel academies. I found some guy running the church sound system, and I got him to come in and, you know, work on the homepage for us, and that's really where we started. And actually the first office that we had, we couldn't even pay the rent. I sold the whole vision to the guy who owned the place. And he was really smitten by my vision. So he said, I'll give you this office here, and you have to start to pay me within, you know, 3 to 6 months. And I said, okay, we'll do that. And he said, you know, I really believe in what you're doing, so I'm going to hold this other bigger office for you for when you grow. Sure enough, we had to grow into that bigger office later, and he was very happy about that. We started out in Helsingborg, Sweden, and Helsingborg in Sweden used to be, you know, one of the big centers for roasting coffee. Most of the coffee beans in those days, they came from Africa. When we renovated our office in Helsingborg, as we started to knock down the walls, there were coffee beans just pouring down from between the walls there. So I read this book about how they used to import these coffee beans from Africa. Of course, in those days I had no idea that eventually one day we would be sitting in Africa, but I thought it was kind of, you know, interesting. If there was one place in the world I would really love to live in, it was South Africa. So, you know, one day when we came to a place as a family, we said, you know, we need to change. You know, where would we like to go? And we said it would definitely be South Africa. I didn't really understand at the time how it would fit in with the, you know, with the aspirations we had as a company, but I thought we'll try to make it work. And that's, I actually didn't know at the time that it would take a new turn, the company at the time. I never had, it wasn't on my map to do a rollout in Africa and Middle East when we started, you know. There are sometimes defining moments when you meet somebody and you just know that they're speaking right into your life. And I think actually one of the absolute best business advice, which is not really a business advice, it's really a life advice, I got from my neighbor in Malmö. I'd built up quite a substantial business. I'd sold it, but the new owner sort of didn't manage it properly, and the business defaulted on my watch. So I took it, you know, of course, very personally, and I was hiding for, you know, really for a couple of years. So I run into my neighbor. He was a well-off industrialist, old guy, 70s. So he's saying, so what are you doing now? So I said, well, you know, this business life is not really for me. And so he said, listen to me, you can't escape your destiny. Get your shit together and get going, you know. It's really two things I would say. One of the things that you constantly have to do is fighting with your demons. So many, both emotional things and so many mountains that you need to climb more or less every day. So I would say that is the hardest thing. Another thing that was really hard for me as well was because I was always into products. I was always into projects. Trying to build a business was really about, people. And that was a shock to me because, and I'm still actually trying to come over that shock, that you actually have to deal a lot with people, You have to deal first with your staff and your colleagues, you have to deal with suppliers, and you have to deal with the customers. The customers I never had any problems with because, they really provide you with your whole livelihood, and the suppliers you need. But then the staff, you see, I always thought that the staff wanted the same thing as me. But I've realized that staff, they've got their own agendas, and it was really hard for me. And I'm still sometimes battling with that, Once you can handle that, I think you can build a good business. What's next, What do we do to take the business to the next level? What is really the next thing? And even if I know, what the next thing is, how the hell do I do it? Discipline is important, optimism is important. I think for me though, I would say that naivety is a very good component. Naivety has always served me very well. The good thing with naivety is that you don't really realize how unsuitable you are to do what you're about to do. Perseverance is also a really good trait, and I always encourage people to persevere as much as they can. A lot of perseverance, you don't need talent. In my case, I say, I don't have much talent, but I can persevere like hell, so yeah.